So my name is Ben Rosen. I'm a high school teacher in San Francisco, and I'm here to say no. And I'm calling on everybody with a conscience, but especially educators, those of us that work with young people every day. In our millions, we have to say no to Trump, to Pence, to his cabinet, and everything they represent. We have to come together, and we have to refuse to go along with this. And in our millions, we have to stop this before it starts. You know, how can we support our Mexican students if we stay silent or neutral when someone calls them all criminals and rapists? You know, how can we support our Latino students and immigrants when he threatens to build a wall and deport millions of people, ripping apart families, leaving whole communities living in fear? How could we stand with our female students if we're silent in the face of all of the vicious attacks, misogyny, objectification, and ways that he demeans women that he disagrees with? You know, how could we stand with our LGBT students if we're silent or neutral in the face of Pence, especially his Christian fundamentalism, the American Taliban, and their threats to take away the basic rights of people to love who they want and not be persecuted for it? How could we stand with our African American students if we're silent or neutral in the face of Trump whipping up a lynch mob frenzy against this whole community and calling for, being the law and order president, which we know is a code for more vicious state-sanctioned violence of one of the most marginalized communities and groups in this country? How can we stand with our Native American students if we're silent or neutral in the face of an ongoing genocidal land-grabbing policy, and especially taking place right now at Standing Rock and the Dakota Access Pipeline? How can we stand with our Muslim students if we're silent or neutral when he talks about a registry of talking about whole groups of people that we should fear all Muslims? No, this is not okay. And if we didn't teach any of these students, it still would be wrong. We still have an obligation to stand up against this. How could we claim to teach empathy and care for humanity and the planet when he brazenly talks about nuclear weapons and denies climate change? How could we claim to foster critical thinking and be silent or stay neutral in the face of a brazen disregard for the truth and for facts and the criminalization of dissent that he is calling for? No, this is not okay. Everybody, especially educators, students, teachers, we need to come together. One unifying message: no. In our millions, we cannot let this go down. This is a dangerous situation if this goes forward, and we need to come together to stop this before it starts. Everybody with a conscience has a responsibility here. What side of history are you going to stand on? And I know what side of history I'm going to stand on. I'm going to say no. I'm encouraging everybody to do this with me. Put up a no in your school, outside your classroom, wherever you are, and let the world know. We need to show the world that we are not okay with this. We need to mobilize, we need to come together, and we need to be in the streets, millions of us, to prevent this regime from taking power. Only millions of us coming together and acting united is going to do that, and this moment calls on us more than ever to do that right now. So join with me, say no, spread the word, and let's make history.